Alright, well, like before, I'd like to get the most depressing song of the night out of the way right now, so I can get on to the earlier, funnier, more recognizable, earlier material of mine. And, you know, I'll try to keep this short, too. I've noticed when I got reviewed for a show I did in Sweden, and the one thing they said is that it was really good, but boy, he talked way too much. And I was like, well, fuck, the Swedish, they're hardly talking all, though, so it's like, no, I'm just kidding. That's not true, it's just a bad stereotype. There's a song on this record called Josephine. Does anybody know this song? Okay. And, you know, I've told this story before about it being about my father's mother that gave him up for adoption when he was like 6 months old, and how he went on this search for her, looking for her because, you know, he'd been adopted by new parents, basically, and, you know, it was a really hard thing for him to go through because he had no idea what was happening when it was happening, and when it happened, you know, his mother, you know, I mean, imagine having a child and having to give it away, and, you know, and think about it too, this was like 1946. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, it's hard enough now, but, you know, this woman, Josephine, she was practically branded like as a witch, you know, in America because she had like a kid out of wedlock. But she found a couple of parents who wanted to be parents, I mean, and they were both pretty old to be adopting. They were like 40 years old, 40 plus, I think, and they were adopting a 6-month-old baby. So you can imagine, I mean, by the time my dad was in his early 20s, I mean, they were so old that they both died basically like a few years after I was born. And he was kind of crushed, but he was also kind of spurred on to then go on this search for this woman, Josephine, because he found this piece of paper in his folks' stuff, his adopted parents' stuff, saying with his name Josephine on it. And he had a good feeling about this. He was like, wow, you know, I know this is the person. And I didn't hear about this for years because I was still really young when he found out this. And when I became a teenager, he started talking to me about it because he's a very sensitive fellow, my dad. Not the guy who's into boxing or, you know, he's not into like shooting squirrels with a BB gun or things like that. You know, he was more into the Joni Mitchell records and, you know, lots of psychotherapy and self-help books, those kind of things. So, you know, he was muy sensitivo, as the Spanish would say. Muy fragile. Great guy, but he asked me opinions on this. I don't even know why he asked me, because I knew he was going to disregard whatever I said, but somehow he felt in his, you know, his awareness and sensitivity that he needed to consult his son about this. And he asked me, he thought, what should I do? Should I go look for this woman, Josephine? And I was like, I don't know, man. I mean, you know, what happens if, you know, she's like a total drug addict and she wants all your money, or what if she doesn't want anything to do with you, you know? You know, what if she was like a Michael Bolton or a Celine Dion fan or something like that, and you have to throw yourself off a cliff and total shame for being related to this person. And he's like, boy, you got a good point there. I didn't even consider that. But, you know, so I said, I'd wait a while. He's like, okay, thank you for your opinion. I'm going to go do whatever the fuck I want anyways. And I guess he did, but I didn't hear about it for years later until I was, mid-20s. I mean, maybe 26, 27. It was just after Amazing Disgrace, that Posies record. It was after all that had happened, and I think the Posies were thinking about breaking up at that point, and the first time we broke up. And not the 8th time we broke up and got back together. But my dad called me around this time and said, hey, I got some news about this woman, Josephine. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I found her. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. And he's like, shut up, wait a minute, I'm not done talking here. I found her, but she's not alive anymore. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, you know, it's horrible. And he's like, slow down, I got some more to tell you. It's like, I found Josephine, she's not alive, she's in the graveyard, but she's not alive, but I found and discovered 20 new relatives by blood that are related to us, and they want to meet us. And I was like, say what? I was like, and, you know, he said, yeah, well, you know, next time you go up to Bellingham, where I'm from, I'll show you some pictures. So the next time I was up there, he whipped out the photos and damned if there weren't, a couple of half-brothers that he had that looked almost just like him. I mean, it was freaky. Except they both had those kind of bad Turbo Negro kind of mustaches. Without the Alice Cooper face makeup, thankfully. But, and there was, I had some new aunts and uncles, and yes, there were some really hot young female cousins. Pictures of them too. And I was cool because that's, it's okay to get with your cousin in America. Is that okay to do here? It would explain a few things. That's for sure. Anyway, so they all lived in this place in America. They wanted to meet us. They all lived in this place in the middle of America called Ohio. Now, great place, Ohio. Anybody familiar with Ohio? Anybody been to Ohio? Anybody know their rock and roll history? The bands that have come from Ohio, or musicians? Oh. Afghan Wigs, very good. There's one. Thank you, very good. You win the first prize. Not anybody else?
Anybody listen?
I know who said that. Did you say that? It's you, didn't you? Yes, okay. Yes, he's right. Bad Boy Boys is from Dayton, Ohio, okay? 2 more I'm looking for, and then I'll shut up.
Ohio players.
I didn't even think about that, but I think they're from Kentucky, actually. Kentucky.
Drew Carey.
Drew Carey? Yes, he's a rock and roll musician.
Yeah.
Actually, he's probably a lot better than a lot of them that are out there, actually. So, okay, Chrissy Hynde from the Pretenders. She's from Akron, Ohio. There's that song that's like, I went back to my city, I went back to Ohio, but my city was gone. Oh, no, way to go, Ohio. That's about Akron and her going home and discovering that all the industry has moved out of her city and it totally sucks, which is true. It actually happened. That's a very depressed state. The other band I was looking for is a talented group of people that wear flower pots on their heads. Devo? Remember that band? Yeah, they're from Akron, Ohio as well. So, and Akron, this is the place where all these new relatives of mine live. I mean, literally, they live within 20 miles of each other, and they wanted us to come visit them. So my dad, my brother, my stepmother, and myself, we took a plane there, and we met them in a state park in the middle of America, in the middle of 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 middle America. I mean, I've told this joke before, but it's so middle American there that when the kids go trick-or-treating, they get guns instead of candy. That's how middle American it is. I'm serious about this. And we show up to the state park, and I'm like shaking hands with all these people, and some of them look like me, and they don't sound like me. You ever seen that movie Fargo? Okay, well, it's not nearly as bad as in Fargo, but it's more towards the Fargo end of the spectrum than where I'm from up north. So, anyways, long story short, I'll get on with it. The next day, my father and I would go to the gravesite of this woman that really started all of this. Her and some man that we don't even know who his name is. And of course, as I'm talking about Josephine, it's her grave. And I watch my dad walk towards the grave, and I watch him have this moment that looks like he realizes, like, wow, there's my mother. I finally getting to meet her. This is the first time he remembers even being this close to her, whether she's alive or dead at all. And he reaches down, he touches the grave, and he totally loses it. Like, he just breaks down, like, just lets it all out. And I just was amazed by the whole circumstance, and I kind of broke down too. And I don't know, later I just kind of turned it into this song, kind of imagining what it must be like for him and asking some questions that he'll never get answered. And I'm going to shut up now. And it's, I think a bad review for this one, I'm sure. And thanks for tripping. It's called Josephine.